Welcome to Faith After Religious Deconstruction. This is Pooja Chilukuri, and today we are going to be talking about religious trauma. What is religious trauma? Let's look at how it's been defined. When I was experiencing my own personal trauma with religion, this vocabulary did not exist. I had my experience back in 2010, and the term religious trauma was actually coined sometime in 2011 and 2012 by a psychologist, Dr. Marlene Winell. She has a website with tons of resources for those who may be experiencing symptoms of post traumatic stress disorder and complex PTSD, and which is linked to their faith or their beliefs and the religion. So it's a little bit different from how a therapist would help you work through C-PTSD or PTSD from other forms of trauma. And if you are experiencing some of the symptoms that Dr. Winall talks about, it's great if you could talk to a therapist, even though religious trauma does not exist right now as such in the diagnostic manual for psychology. Any trauma-informed therapist can help. So let's take a look at the definition here. Religious trauma syndrome is the condition experienced by people who are struggling with leaving an authoritarian, dogmatic religion and coping with the damage of indoctrination. I got this definition off of the website journeyfree.org, and I will have the link in the description below. I'm not affiliated with this organization. I've just found their resources really helpful, so I'm sharing it here. Again, and it says further, they may be going through the shattering of personally meaningful faith and breaking away and deconstructing from a controlling community and lifestyle. Religious trauma syndrome is a function of both the chronic abuses of harmful religion and the impact of cutting off ties and one's connection with one's faith. It can be compared to a combination of PTSD and complex PTSD. Religious trauma isn't just only about a set of beliefs that creates anxiety, right? For a lot of us that we're exposed to a lot of fundamentalist teachings, especially the context I'm using is in the Christian faith, a lot of distorted images of God, images of hell, fear about the afterlife, fears about backsliding, different things that we've been taught that if we give up our faith or we lose our faith, we're betraying Jesus and we have to fear God's judgment. So all these things can create anxiety. And then for me, my experience, hyper focus on sin. I was creating symptoms of depression and OCD. So these are real things, and people in churches can go through this and they never talk about it because, who would believe them? Who would even believe them, right? Because we're all supposed to have faith, and they might be told, like I was told, that it's the devil trying to mess with you and things like that, when actually it's a true mental health issue, which is being, again, created by the environment you're in. And a lot of folks, despite the fact that they're experiencing some form of control, some form of abuse or trauma, are not able to leave because so many of us are deeply entrenched in these communities that are our family, that our identities are tied to, our purpose is tied to, our children are tied to. So, and you might be even born into a community like this. So where would you go, right? Where would you find new friends and start from scratch? So this is really, really hard. So when people do leave, sometimes the trauma of leaving can be a trauma as well. And there's a lot of grief and loss that goes with it. So it's a lot of complex emotions that you can experience while either you're still part of the church and community or even after you've left. So this is not something that I advise anybody to struggle alone. I'm making these videos as an encouragement, but there are professionals out there, and even though they may not have the words religious trauma, they are trauma-informed therapists and can certainly be of help. So I definitely wanted to just bring some attention to this topic, and I just want to encourage you that if you have symptoms, and what do I mean by symptoms? So for me, for example, my heart rate would go up whenever I would be in the parking lot of a church. And I had to eventually stop going and separate for some time to heal. So, symptoms can be anything from sweating to anxiety to depression to your heart rate going up, all of the things that you associate with trauma. It could be anything because different people respond differently. So, I just encourage you to look up this website, journeyfree.org. If you feel that you've been experiencing symptoms of trauma because of either religion, the teachings of your religion, or because of leaving, because that also comes with a whole set of issues. So without going into too many details, because I don't want the videos to be too long, again, I will direct you to the link in the show notes. I hope that this content is useful for you.